Chapter 3 Fashioning a New Society in the Wilderness. European society operated through feudalism, a social system in which the lower class, serfs, exchanged labor and land for protection provided by the upper class, mostly aristocrats of the Catholic Church. While his life was secure, it wasn't a happy one. A strict social hierarchy was imposed. Failure to defer to your superiors meant punishment. However, mistreating those beneath you was also criminal. Within the hierarchy, there existed a three-way social policy. Nobles provided food and protection to serfs in exchange for labor. Serfs helped each other with labor and also provided care for the elderly, children, and those with mental and physical disabilities. The Catholic Church was also heavily invested in social welfare. They provided food and housing for the hungry, sick, and homeless. The Church's canonical law established a welfare system before secular governments did. The feudal system ended with the emergence of new social classes brought about by capitalism, combined with more liberal ideas brought about by the Enlightenment. Capitalism furthered the divide between rich and poor and brought about distrust of the other. Poverty was associated with laziness and ungodliness. The Church of England failed to continue the assistance programs routinely administered by the Catholic Church. To counter this, English Parliament enacted the Elizabethan Poor Law Act of 1601, a landmark bill that made social welfare the responsibility of the government, not the Church. Benefits included employment in public works programs, price regulations, and food and clothing relief. Early America was essentially a feudal society. A similar hierarchy existed, particularly due to the racial diversity. Native Americans and enslaved Africans were the lowest of the low, followed by women, indentured servants, landless males, and finally landowning males. The strict divide prompted many riots, most famously Bacon's Rebellion. As more and more people received land, settled areas expanded farther west. However, colonists in the urban East looked upon those in the West with disdain. Competition for limited colonial funds led to even more class divides. No event solidified the difference between the Old and New World more clearly than the American Revolution. The war helped to eliminate the sharp divide between economic classes that Europe's system promoted. The Constitution outlined several specific provisions that the federal government could use for social welfare. However, the creation of the United States did not immediately help the gendered and racially oppressed. Women had very few options outside the home. Only a narrow range of occupations hired women, and when they were employed, the wages of females were drastically lower than their male counterparts. Educational opportunities were also limited. There were laws, however, which favored women, including divorce, abuse, and rape laws. Oppression of Native Americans began as soon as explorers landed in the New World. Those that survived the waves of genocide and diseases Europeans brought were quickly enslaved and forced to work in mines and fields. Lack of cultural acceptance and understanding led Europeans to describe first Americans as savages who needed to be saved. In order to support their labor-intensive agricultural economy, the colonies imported thousands of slaves from Africa. Different from indentured servants, slaves could be mistreated and had no rights to land or other property. Abolition of slavery in the North began as early as 1776, yet the Constitution validated it as an institution, mentioning it throughout the document. None of these groups would become full citizens of the United States until over a century later. Due to the popularity of limited government, the U.S. believed that welfare should come from private institutions like philanthropic and religious organizations. This, combined with the racist and misogynistic overtones of colonial society, help explain America's reluctance to provide social welfare today.
Created using Powtoon.